Hey everybody, welcome back to this week's Sourcing Scoop, where we talk about retail tips for your store every Friday at 1 p.m. Central Time. On Twitter is when you can join the conversation using hashtag Sourcing Scoop or hashtag OPLV. You might notice I am not Buyer Relations Coordinator Katie Albrecht, big shock, but I'm Todd Fabus, the Marketing Manager here at OFFPRICE, and this week we're talking about music in your retail stores, about how the music that you have playing is an extension of your brand. It really is part of your brand, it's part of your store. So a couple simple tips that we wanted to provide for you this week. One thing to keep in mind with your store is to not keep the music up way too loud. You're not a nightclub. You want your customers to be able to interact with each other and talk and have a good time when you're in their store. So you don't want them screaming and yelling when they're on your retail store floor. Another thing is try to go neutral with music. It's not a bad thing if they don't remember what song is being played. The example of that is something that's upbeat but is almost not memorable per se. It won't have them turn around and head right back out because they hate the song. Here's an example of that. If that song is on in your store, chances are pretty strong that your customers aren't going to notice it and start talking about that and take the focus off of your products and kind of want to head back out to the exit and head somewhere else because they didn't like what song they heard. Other things to keep in mind, try to avoid all of the current top hits as best as you can. Instead of just focusing on what's really hot on the radio right now, try to focus on songs that have been popular and kind of stood the tests of time. Again, upbeat, good tempo, keeps people in a good mood, probably evokes some pretty good memories of them their years past too. Keep in mind in the world we live in today, that everybody's used to using iPods, meaning we're very accustomed to changing songs quickly that we don't like. It's something that can't be done when they're in your store. They can't change the song you have playing, so you want to try to keep it to the point where they're not going to want to be thinking about changing that song. It's just kind of the world we live in now, where it's so easy to change a song that we do it all the time. We're not even really thinking about it anymore. Something else that we want to keep in mind is, again, looking back to who your client base is, don't play songs that are really outside the lines of who your core customer is. A lot of people that we talk to, you don't even need to necessarily set a playlist as easy as it is in iTunes. You can also just use a handful of apps that are out there that kind of do the busy work for you, like Pandora. But you don't want to set it on something where you have songs that are going to be very outside the lines of what your client base is. If you're a children's clothing store or you're Missy Junior's clothing store, you probably don't want songs like this. Okay, you get the point there. Seems like common sense, but you'd be surprised that song somehow or another slips into your Pandora playlist because you just haven't unliked it or something. Could be a customer coming in for the first time, hears that, hates it so much they just turn around and head out to somebody else across the street. Keep in mind that there's other music that's not just the pop music, the top 40 things that you should mix into your songs if you can. Great example of that right now is country music. There's a lot of really fun country music out there that can be a great addition to your store's playlist. So that's another example to keep a good mood in your store, so your customers are happy and got a good vibe going on there. Other thing to keep in mind is the holidays are coming up very soon. Almost every retail store out there is going to switch their music to Christmas music, holiday music. So keep in mind, try to cast a really wide net with that, so you're not subjecting your customers to the same exact songs they're hearing on the radio stations that are playing Christmas music and every other store that's playing Christmas music. There's a lot of music out there right now that ties into the holidays that you can use to set a good tone and vibe in your store, so people won't feel like they're hearing the same song on repeat. Keep in mind your employees are part of your brand and store as well, so don't subject them to the same song on repeat 15 times a day. That's going to make them grouchy because they're going to start to hate the song. Like we've talked about how the radio can kind of kill a song and then people just don't like hearing that particular song. It can be no different with your employees. You want to keep them happy so they're good ambassadors for your store. So again, try to keep it light, keep it fun. And in some regards, try to keep it just in the background so you're not making people upset about what they're hearing. You want to keep them in your store. So with that, we'll see you guys at 1 p.m. on Twitter. Hashtag Sourcing Scoop, hashtag OPLV. Thanks for watching the Off-Price Show Sourcing Scoop this week.